With the Iowa Lottery's new Millionaire for Life game, you could win $1 million a year for life. That could make you a My Dream Job is No Job millionaire. A front row tickets to every show millionaire. A hire a personal glam squad for you and your bestie millionaire.
Yep, a little further.
Or just to never run out of your favorite pickles millionaire. With Millionaire for Life from the Iowa Lottery,
And these.
you can change your life for life. Play today.
Woohoo!
Buckets!
Buckets!
My gosh, AD, when's the last time we did a show together? It's
I
been a
think it
while.
was Just a couple of weeks ago, right?
Well, so I was with Freund last week. Was it
Yeah.
me and you the week before?
I think it
or
was you and
you
I the week
Freund?
before, and then it was me and Freund. Yeah,
Okay.
we've kind of gone on and off the last few weeks. But yeah, you and Freund did a great job. I appreciate that. And man, I was worried that this was going to be our last show. You know, a week ago, I was like, man, there's a chance that like next week
Yeah.
we put the bow on everybody's season, and we don't. And I mean, best case scenario, we have one team to talk about, and here we are, baby. We got an eighth of the Sweet, or what, a quarter of the Sweet 16? An eighth of the Sweet 16. We could have a quarter of the Elite Eight.
Yeah, Nate. Yeah, wow.
I was told there'd be no math.
That's crazy. Well, and to give Freund credit, I guess we can get right into our big money moment. Presented by the Iowa Lottery, be a millionaire for
Absolutely.
life. Second prize, $100,000 for life.
Not bad.
Doesn't get much better than that. You could buy a lot of beers with $100,000 a year. You could buy even more beers with $1 million for life.
You could get tickets to Iowa, Nebraska.
I
and
can
then
tell you,
fly to Chicago and go to Iowa State, Tennessee.
I can tell you that Alvaro Fulgaras will never have to buy a beer again in Iowa City, and that's our big money moment because
Oh yeah,
Mark
it is.
Freund called it. He didn't call a Fulgaras game winner. I don't know how you could have. That'd be a very obscure prediction, but he was probably higher on the Hawkeyes than anyone I talked to about this game. Even the most irrational Iowa fans I know. I think Freund laid out a more realistic path to them not only being in the game but winning it. And Freund / Alvaro Fulgaras is our big money moment by the Iowa Lottery.
Doesn't hurt that they look exactly like each other. Like Fulgaras could be.
Oh my
Freund's
gosh, yes they do.
younger but taller brother. Yeah,
Freund
they're-
has a lot of lookalikes. I always thought he looked like, gosh, what's the politician in Succession? Ferris Bueller's best friend.
Yeah.
What's that actor's name?
Alan Ruck.
Yeah, I've always thought Mark
he's a
looked like
little- yeah.
a young.
There's a little Cameron in
Ruck.
him.
Yeah, but either way, congrats to
Man.
Freund. I almost made him do the show and be like, all right, well,
Yeah, take your.
I don't know if
victory
I can
lap.
take Downs. I don't know if I can take Downs in a Sweet 16. So Freund, you go and take your victory lap. You fill in. I'll work in Chicago.
You know, we got a ton to do, but like the thing that's really washed over me more than anything this week, being a fan of a team that's finally in the second weekend. There's a couple things. One, the tournament goes so quickly, and especially
gosh.
like those first two rounds, like, you really don't have time to like bask in the victory in the first round, or I'm sure a victory in the Sweet 16 before the Elite Eight game just comes and slaps you in the face. But when you get to the next weekend, you have this period of time. And again, as an Iowa fan, it's just been so long since I've experienced this. I kind of forgot how much freaking fun this is to like have your team as one of those teams. And all of a sudden you are part of all the national talking heads and your coach is everywhere. And like the amount of content you have to consume, and just you're having a bad day at work, but then you remember, oh, the Iowa basketball season is still alive. It's still going, baby. That has hit me. And then the other thing with Alvaro Fulgaras and what you just said, he'll never buy another beer in Iowa City. And you're exactly right. It's wild that, again, 2 games ago, really 1 game ago, he was an overall disappointment this season. It was, yeah, he's had a couple of good games, and when he's checked in and when he's focused and when he plays hard, he's a big part of this team, and they're a better team when he does that, but he doesn't do it very consistently. And man, like, he's coming back next year. Can you really build a roster around a guy like this? Man, he hits one shot. Well, he throws one punch and then hits one shot, and the guy's a Hawkeye legend. I mean, he hit the biggest shot in 40 years in Iowa basketball. And it's like he just skyrockets to this status. I've always hated that we put so much emphasis on this tournament because you can have a really good regular season. And if the tournament doesn't go well, it feels like you didn't have a good regular season. But like now with the shoes on the other foot and you get to like experience the fun part of this tournament, like, man, the amount of weight we put on these games is just incredible.
It's unlike anything, and I've probably gotten used to it a little bit. And that's not a success thing, that's just a work thing. I was sitting next to some Kentucky people during that Santa Clara game who are clapping, they're yelling at the refs, they're demonstrative. Like that, I have conditioned myself. Someone who grew up in the stands, like every single game, I would lose my voice. I wouldn't have a voice at school the next day. I would down tea before I went to bed. I really have had to condition myself, especially once the NCAA tournament rolls around, to be stoic and watch the game from that perspective. And it's almost worse. It's almost worse to be in that spot because something good happens, something bad happens. You have the same reaction, and you sit there and you're just nervous all day. And that's what I liked about Iowa State playing a somewhat early game both days. Now it's full-fledged waiting.
Yeah.
9-10. I struggled to sleep on Sunday night. Already thinking about Friday. And I'll struggle to sleep tonight. I'll struggle to sleep tomorrow night. It's what's great about this time of year, and it's also what's torture about it. Is it feels like it goes fast, but when you're in the moment, it doesn't go fast enough because you just want to shut your eyes and have the game be there.
And I hate that 9-10 tip time for Iowa State. Like, I'm sure they're fine with it and whatever, but like for fans, for kids, I mean, the best part of Sunday night's win for Iowa was my son and I experiencing it together. Yeah, he's 10 years old. He's never really had a moment like that. We had fun watching Iowa football. We've had fun watching. It was great to watch the Bears this past season. But he's at that age where he's really starting to get into it. And man, that shot goes in, and we're jumping up and down and hugging each other, and that was spectacular.
Yeah, and luckily he's probably old enough that if there was a 9-10 game, he'd probably be good to stay up. But I know
even
that feeling.
It'd be late.
It's hard. So one thing you mentioned in the highs and lows of a tournament run, and you're experiencing this for probably the first time since
I was a sophomore
2008.
No,
of like you're afraid of losing your coach, or at least it's talked about.
Oh yeah, yes.
Was that the last Kirk, maybe like 2012? Wasn't there a little something with the Chiefs? Regardless,
yeah, there were the first decade of Kirk Ferentz's career at Iowa, there was a lot of worry. But
he
you're
hit
right.
a point
Outside of that, like even the Alford thing never really hit that height where you were like worried, they're going to go, Indiana's going to come get him. At a few years into that, it was like, take him.
Take him. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. And I don't think McCollum's going to leave. I would imagine he would use it as leverage to be like, hey, get me more money, like any coach in America will do in that situation. But it is still, from a fan perspective, it's annoying. Even though it's encouraging. Like, if North Carolina or Kansas wants your guy, that's a good thing, but it's also, you see what their fans are saying on social media, and it's insulting to be like, well, of course he'd leave.
Yeah.
We're in North Carolina. Why wouldn't he want to come here?
Yes.
And that's exactly what's happened with TJ Otzelberger, except it's been reversed as he shocked me today because Otzelberger's never really been one to talk about this stuff. It's well known, it's well reported that Otzelberger has turned down jobs before. He's turned down jobs several off seasons while being at Iowa State, but he's never really been directly asked about specific jobs. And today, when he was joking with sports information director Ryan Workman, like, hey, Workman, should I do an opening statement today? And we all chuckled, and he's like, no, seriously, okay, opening statement. And I'm like, okay, he's going to tell something about Jefferson. And then he just comes out and says, look, any rumors that there are about me taking other jobs, they're not true. They won't be true. And he said it about as sternly as a coach could
Yeah.
that he will be in Ames. I mean, not forever. No one's ever going to say forever, but when you say future, that to me says next year. I plan on being there the year after that, the year after that. And as long as Iowa State is giving him the resources he needs to feel that he can make a Final Four and win a national championship, which they're doing right now, and which they've committed to doing next year, I think TJ Otzelberger will be a Cyclone, and that's it's something that is worth celebrating. I didn't expect to get that answer today. Not that I thought he was going to leave.
No, but to get that definitive,
Yeah.
I'm here. And then the follow-up by Jamie Pollard in the tweet, which we don't know if that means they've reached some sort of extension that they'll announce next week or when the season's over or what. But you're exactly right. To get that very direct, I'm here for the future. That was good. It was big. And what you said is exactly right. As long as he feels like he can reach the top levels within this program, he's not going anywhere. There's nothing out there that he can get that he can't get at Iowa State right now. How long is that true? I don't know. We'll find out. And I get why Cyclone fans are, once bitten, twice shy when it comes to this. He just lost the best football coach in program history, a guy who seemed very entrenched in Ames, pardon the Chiswick reference, but ultimately, and probably, I mean, maybe would have stayed for longer if he felt like he had every resource he needed. And so you get why there's a sensitivity around this. But Otzelberger is married to a Cyclone legend. He wanted this job since the day he got here as an assistant coach. And again, he's about to lead his team into the Sweet 16, potentially the Elite Eight, potentially further than that. And there's no reason to think it's going to take a step back heading into next season. So I think Cyclone fans should feel good about obviously the coach they have, but about the position the athletic department is in with that coach.
That leads really well into my Kaberski Brothers lawn care seed of an idea.
Yeah.
I found out yesterday that I live next to a Kaberski brother. Not a
What?
Kaberski, but an employee of the Kaberski Brothers.
No way.
Yeah, so I'll never have to worry about our yard again. It's pretty great. But
I don't know why this picture got all like burnt out on me. I
Yeah.
took this tonight. This is in my yard. The Kaberski. I'm trusting my yard to the Kaberski Brothers again this summer. I'm gonna have the nicest yard in my neighborhood, which is saying something because I got a bunch of retired old dudes who just go out there with scissors and cut their grass. But the Kaberski Brothers, I trust them in my yard. You should trust them in yours.
And if you're someone who's thinking, I'm a lawn care expert, I don't need these daggum Kaberski Brothers to come to my yard. Well, do you need a part-time job? Go and work for them.
That's right.
It's best of both worlds.
Yes.
My seed of an idea, and again, this is you kind of plant a seed. You don't expect it to grow right away.
Hey, my Fulgaras seed from like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the
it
definition.
sprouted, baby. I thought it was dead. I'd stopped watering it. It sprouted. I went out one day and it was a tree.
That's the definition of this. And mine comes down to college basketball coaching. And I think we've gotten to this point in college football, and I think it's going to hit college basketball, where the best job is a lot closer to the 20th best job than it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You don't have every inherent advantage now at North Carolina as you do Kansas. Do you have more of an advantage? Absolutely.
Sure.
But I really thought of this when I covered Iowa State and Kentucky, when I watched Kentucky play Santa Clara, when I went into their locker room, when I met their media members. It's got to be a pain to play for Kentucky. It's probably not a pain to make $3 million like Iowa Lottery Millionaire for Life, but it's a headache to play for that. And Hunter Dickinson went public about that last week where he's like, yeah, it feels like a job to play for Kansas, especially if you're not winning. And right now, I think it's harder to build great teams at those blue blood universities, or at least you have to be savvier with it. And I think TJ Otzelberger's proven that he can build a national title contender. It's a bummer that Joshua Jefferson's hurt right now.
Yeah.
Because, yes, he could come back. Even if he comes back, I still don't think it's as likely Iowa State plays in a national championship as it was before. They could still do it. But regardless, Otzelberger, even with less resources than Kentucky, kicked the living crap out of them. And he got, like, I use Dom Nelson as an example. I don't know his salary. I can guarantee you that guy is not making $1 million. I would imagine Kentucky's ninth man is making $1 million. He might be making $2 million. How are you supposed to get that guy to stay bought in as opposed to the Dom Nelsons of the world who might be making a couple $100,000? And Nelson was ready for his moment. And I think going forward, I think if you see a guy that is doing well in a good spot, some might consider Iowa State a really good spot when you factor in Hilton Coliseum, being a basketball school. I think you're going to see less guys making that jump to the blue blood level. And we've seen that in college football as we all saw the names Penn State had laid out. Matt Campbell, great coach. He's a legend in Ames. He was not number one on their list. And he wasn't the number one name that Penn State fans wanted, and they settled for him. Mm-hmm. Don't be stunned if North Carolina or Kansas end up getting the 7th or 8th guy on their list, and that could just be what this is going forward.
And then when that happens, don't be stunned when next year when they underperform, that fan base is out with pitchforks and torches. Look at Darren DeVries right now in Indiana, who took a blue blood job and made is making a lot of money and has a ton of resources. But there's that interesting thing, Jake, where and this is there's a part of this which is like cope, where it's like, hey, we've got it good here, right? Because I'm sure like all things equal, you'd rather be at a blue blood, but there is an extent to which Iowa and Iowa State are like in this perfect position where they're big enough and in big enough conferences where they can make the tournament as a 9 seed and make a run. They can pay the guys that they need to pay enough money to keep them there, but they can also pick and choose who they bring into their program and handpick these guys. One of the great things that happened Sunday night was Ben McCollum was asked, about like, what does this do for like, how do you recruit guys? And he's like, hey, if you want to be tough, if you want to play, if you want a chance to win, like come here. They're not looking for McDonald's All-Americans necessarily. Sure, you take one. But like those are the kind of guys who, as you said, check out when the team isn't doing as well as they thought, or they're not getting the kind of playing time. I mean, Darren Peterson is a fantastic player. That seems like a headache, man, that you just don't want to deal with. And if you're in a position like at North Carolina or Indiana or Kansas, you can't turn those guys down. Your roster is going to be filled with guys like that. And again, when you strike lightning in a bottle, you're going to win a national championship. But I think there's just as likely of a chance that it all goes off the rails and you can't contain it the way you can at a place like Iowa or Iowa State, where you've handpicked these guys for their character and for their buy-in on defense and for their toughness. And it's great if they hit a big shot, or if they, you have a Bennett Sturtz who's a great point guard and a floor general and all these things. But, again, I think all things equal, you'd rather be at one of these blue bloods, but it's not so bad in the middle right now in one of these Power 4 conferences because you don't deal with a lot of that bull crap.
Yeah, and if you're telling a coach you can start equal at North Carolina or you can start equal at Iowa State, every single coach is choosing North Carolina.
Of course.
No question. But the real question is, would you rather leave Iowa State when it's up here and you've proven that you could get it even higher, or would you rather start at North Carolina where it's in the middle and you haven't established anything? And that's what I think the question comes down to for a lot of these coaches. Like Tommy Lloyd at Arizona is being tied to these. Kansas is a better job than Arizona. There is no doubt. I think Kansas is the best job in college basketball. Will he take it if Bill Self retires? He's got a pretty dang good thing going in Tucson, and I can tell you after being in Tucson, I thought, how does Arizona not get any single player they want? It's beautiful here. You've got everything you could possibly need. I don't know. I've just been thinking about it a lot. It's not as simple as the 90s where, Kansas called, I'm taking the Kansas job, no questions asked.
And there's definitely some truth to like your jersey helps you in college basketball, but it's not nearly like football, right? Where the helmet is such a big part, and like you're not going to get chosen for the playoff if you're a good team who doesn't have the right helmet on. The beautiful thing about this tournament is you're into this tournament, and Kansas is a better job than Arizona, but there's nothing you can do at Kansas that you can't do at Arizona. And that's the difference. I mean, Ohio State's a better football job than Iowa, and there are things you can do at Ohio State that you will never do at Iowa. That's just not true in college basketball at the top level. And so, yeah, I think we're in a good spot with both these coaches. But yeah, brace yourself. Every job that's going to come open is going to involve both these coaches. And while we're here, I might as well just do my seed of an idea too, because this is what we're talking about with Kaberski Brothers. I think we might have 2 of the 5-10 best coaches in America in this state right now. And I mean, it's very early for Ben McCollum. And TJ Otzelberger hasn't gotten to like that top level, the Final Four. They're going to need to hang some banners to kind of back this up. That's why it's a seed of an idea. But man, the way these coaches have out-coached guys at better programs with bigger names, with more resources, it's spectacular, man. Like it really is. I do think for where they are, these guys are perfect, and the sky's the limit for both of them.
Yeah, and like it is coaching at the end of the day. There's all this other stuff, and McCollum is in a very similar spot to where TJ Otzelberger was after the first year. And you leave and you say, there's no doubt that was an A-plus year, that no questions asked. Now can you sustain it? Was it lightning in a bottle?
Right.
Was it, man, you stumbled into Isaiah Brockington, who was not highly sought after by anybody, and ends up being one of the best one-year players in Iowa State history. Can McCollum win without Sturts, who's this future lottery pick and all-time great player? And those questions will get answered. That's why I think you kind of have to judge it in a 3 to 5 year stretch, because there's a very good chance Iowa has a down year next year.
Absolutely.
There's a very good chance that they're better than they were last year, but maybe still exceeds or still underachieves compared to expectations. And that's why you kind of have to go, like, where's this Iowa program in 2029? And we'll know. That's probably how long it'll take that seed to grow before you truly know. But I do think it's a fascinating question. Who had the better first year between Ben McCollum and TJ Otzelberger? And I discussed this already off air with somebody, so I want to hear your opinion first, and then we can debate.
There's a ton of nuance to this, right? And I will admit I didn't follow. I don't remember as much about Iowa State and kind of the roster building that TJ had to do in that first year. You talk about Brockington. I don't remember what he had coming back, who stayed at Iowa State, or who he brought from UNLV. But I will say, I think right now, and the beautiful thing about the tournament is all changes tomorrow night, regardless of regardless of what we say right now. If Ben McCollum takes Iowa to an Elite Eight in its first year, it's a better season. But they had a better conference record, Iowa did, than TJ did in his first season. And again, with my naivete, which you'll correct me on about Iowa State's roster, I don't believe it was a Missouri Valley roster. I don't believe there were guys who started their career in Division II. I think, given the state of the program, now that's an interesting one too, because Iowa State went 0-19 or 0-20. What were they? 0-18 was it at the time?
0-19.
0-19, and I guess with the tournament, Big 12 play. So the program was as down as it could get, but it was 4 years removed from a Sweet 16, and several years removed from like being a top tier Big 12 program, where Iowa has had a couple of decent seasons, but hasn't reached this level in 27 years. I think with all that nuance, I would give it to McCollum by a hair.
So I think I'm going to do a cop-out answer. I think McCollum has had the better first season. Beating the
other thing is the win against Florida is better than any win that Iowa State had that year.
If you're judging it off of success in the tournament, Iowa's path to the Sweet 16 was far more difficult. I remember Iowa State lost by 45 in the Big 12 tournament, and they had honestly really similar seasons where Iowa State picked up they picked up a couple of really nice wins in the non-conference, and I think Iowa State's body of work that year was better when you factor in a top 10 win to start the year.
Mm-hmm. I forgot they beat Iowa.
A win at Creighton, a dominant win over Iowa. So there's that, but then they had a horrible February, almost missed the tournament. You were worried about making the play-in game after losing to Texas Tech by 40 in Kansas City, and the team was out of gas. But then Selection Sunday hits, and they got the best draw possible because they got LSU, who had just fired Will Wade like before Selection Sunday.
That's right.
So he couldn't have played, or he couldn't have coached that game. And then they got Wisconsin, who I think everyone saw as like, well, if you could get 1-3 seed, it's Wisconsin. And TJ Otzelberger had a masterclass in that game and beat them in a very similar way to Iowa beating Florida. That Florida team is so much better than that Wisconsin team. So all of that together, analytically, the run to the Sweet 16, I think McCollum had the better season. I think TJ Otzelberger's was more impressive, though. Based off of where it started.
Yeah.
There wasn't NIL. So the pitch was nothing. That there was nothing to base it off of. He brought back 2 Steve Prohm players who were very average at best, George Condit, Trey Jackson.
Yeah,
He brought 1 player with him, and that was Caleb Grill, who was maybe the worst freshman to ever see time at Iowa State, and then joined TJ at UNLV and was okay. And then other than that, it was a bunch of scraps.
God,
like
I
Robert
forgot
Jones
he started at Iowa State, went to UNLV, came back to Iowa State. And didn't he go somewhere else after?
Mizzou. He ended his career at Mizzou. So all of that together.
I just remember Williams with the grill. The grill.
Oh, fire up the grill.
Fire up the grill.
Fire up the grill.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're totally good. I also think the nuance part of it is it's different timing. Like you can say, well, is it different taking over an 0-19 program compared to a team that was okay last year but not good enough when both coaches can bring in entirely new rosters?
Right.
I think what was so impressive about Otzelberger at the time was that he was the first one that had to completely overhaul a roster overnight and was able to do it with the no transfer sit-out rule and was able to go from 0-19 to the Sweet 16. Like it was and still is statistically the greatest single-season turnaround in college basketball. And for McCollum, yes, he had to go up a level, that's the impressive part of it. But he also had some money to spend and was able to buy Fulgaras and Hausen.
And you have an all Big Ten point guard attached to your hip.
Yeah, like Otzelberger didn't have an All-American coming with him from Vegas. So I think they're both very impressive, and I think this Iowa team would beat that Iowa State team. But I also think what Otzelberger did with less, slightly is more impressive than McCollum's first year.
I think that's fair. And it's so interesting how similar these two seasons have been when you look at them, a little closer. Man, we got a couple of really good coaches.
Yeah.
Remind me the fan support. I mean, obviously that 0-19 season was tough, but I imagine the fans jumped on board with it because, and then the other thing, Otzelberger, like Iowa fans have had that picture of Ben McCollum and Tom Davis. Like there's been a connection there because he grew up a Hawkeye fan, and you saw him a little bit at Drake last year. But it was nothing like the Otzelberger connection, where a lot of fans wanted him to be the head coach when Steve Prohm was hired, followed him to South Dakota State, followed him to UNLV, have had your eye on him for several years. I imagine the excitement around TJ Otzelberger in that program amped up because they started like 12-0, right? I mean, they had a really good start to the season. It was a harder hill to climb for Ben McCollum to get this fan base back.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's done it. I mean, like what has happened over the last week has completely changed his relationship to Iowa fans. Anybody who was questioning, anybody who had any doubt, there were still some McCaffrey backers who thought it was too quick of a trigger pull on him. There's none of that now, right? Like McCollum he was the right hire, he is the right guy, and now there's the evidence is there to prove it.
Yeah, there was never a Hilton problem. There was a Steve Prohm problem, and there was a horrible team problem, and that's what it didn't kill Hilton Magic, but it took Hilton Magic away for a couple of years. And Otzelberger, like what he did the first year is so impressive because they beat Oregon State like really early in that year, which they had just come off of an Elite Eight, but I don't think anyone thought that team was great. And then they had nothing but cupcakes, went out to New York, beat Xavier. It's like, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like to win a game. And Xavier was ranked. Jack Nungy was playing for them. Destroy Penny Hardaway and top 10 Memphis.
Yes.
Then go on the road to Creighton, and then you come back for the Cyhawk game. So they're in the top 15 for that Cyhawk game. Hilton was on fire, and it's never looked back since.
Right.
Hilton has been back ever since. So definitely way less of a hill to climb in that regard for Otzelberger. But I think a really interesting, nuanced discussion. We'll have to put out a poll.
Yeah, it's a good call.
And we'll see how many Hawkeye fans vote and how many Cyclone fans vote, because we know who they'd vote for.
How shocked were you that Iowa was able to do what it did to Florida?
Ooh, I was pretty shocked.
At what point during that game did you think, whoa, like Iowa? Because I'll tell you, I had told my wife before that game, hey, Iowa's going to lose. They're probably going to lose badly. I'm not going to let it ruin my night. I'm ready for it. Now I'm probably going to be grumpy. I'm not going to be happy, but I'm not going to let this ruin my night. And about halfway through the second half, she's like, this is going to happen. And I was like, no, it's not. And it's just now it is going to ruin my night. Now they've sucked me in enough that I want this badly enough that now it is going to ruin my night when Florida finds a way. And man, when Florida went up by 4 late in that game, it was okay. There it is. That's the national championship moment for Florida. That's the first-year coach for Iowa and a bunch of kind of undersized mid-major guys. Hey, they put up a great fight. They gave them all they wanted, but these last 3 or 4 minutes are probably going to get away from us a little bit. And I mean, it really wasn't until Fulgaras hit that shot, and I was like, oh, holy shit. This is, so it was 5 seconds left, and I wasn't sure I was going to win.
So there was the stretch where, Iowa played really well the first half. Florida cut it down. You thought, okay, Florida's...
Yeah, when Florida got that back to tied by, right before half, I was like, oh.
Yeah, Florida's going to take control. I think they'll comfortably win. And I didn't expect Iowa to roll over and die, but I thought Florida would win comfortably. Then Iowa took that 10-point lead. And then that's where I was thinking, when you play Iowa, you can't exactly go down 10 because there's so few possessions.
Yeah, you're right.
If there's 10 minutes left, there's actually 8 minutes left based off of how they play. And that's where I started to think, what, this might actually happen. And then Florida makes their big run, takes the 4-point lead, and I thought this couldn't be more over. But then the Cooper Koch shot was where I'm like, okay, this might be destiny. And from that point on, the game played out the way it did, and that's the one advantage you have as the 9 seed, is when you can get in a game like that. You don't have the advantage minute 1 through 35.
Right.
But if you can have them on the ropes in the last 5 minutes, that's where you have the advantage.
All the pressure goes onto them.
So I was not shocked at all when Fulgaras hit that shot. I was shocked at Todd Golden's...
Jesus. What are you doing?
Yeah, I was shocked by his horrible coaching down the stretch, getting completely outclassed. But yeah, I'd say I was shocked that they were able to do it.
And then it's just such a storybook thing for it to be Ben McCollum's first season, for him to have that picture with Tom Davis, the last coach that brought Iowa to a Sweet 16, in his final season, for Alvaro Fulgaras to have his mom in the stands and everything that surrounded that, for Iowa to find a way to do this without Bennett Sturts playing his best game, certainly in either of these games. And to get that monkey off the program's back, I've said several times over the last few years, I'm sure I've said it on here, that the biggest problem with Iowa basketball is you can't set expectations for this program until they get to a Sweet 16, because that's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that fans cared about. If you didn't do that, it didn't matter if you had Luka Garza and were a top 5 team all season. It didn't matter if you went to Chicago or Indy or wherever the Big Ten tournament is and made a run and hoisted a trophy. The only thing that mattered was getting to a Sweet 16. And until they did that, you couldn't really accurately set an expectation for this program year in and year out, because that's the only thing that mattered. So now you get out of that weight, you can kind of move forward, and starting next season, it's like, okay, like, what is this program? Where can it be? Is it a top half program in the Big Ten? Can it, annually get to things like a Sweet 16? And so, like, it's just the Cooper Koch thing. And JR, I mean, he scored the same number of points as his dad did in the second round game in 1999 for the same team. I mean, the one guy who stayed and who had a rough season for much of the season hits huge shot after huge shot in the biggest game of the year. And then to have Fred Hoiberg in Nebraska waiting in the Sweet 16. It's like you could not have written this. If I had written this story at the start of the season, you'd be laughed out of the room. It's complete fiction, and yet here we are living it. And one of the interesting things here is Jake, like, I think of a lot of Iowa fans, the worry of Iowa State getting to like a Final Four while Iowa still hadn't reached the Sweet 16 was real and palpable. And when Iowa State would make a run in the tournament, all Hawkeye fans' attention was Iowa State needs to lose. They need to lose before they do something big, because then it's like you just, all of your bullets fall out of the chamber. I gotta quit making gun references because YouTube doesn't like that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it's so interesting because, like, I haven't even thought about Iowa State this week because my team is in the Sweet. I'm like the amount of joy I have for Iowa getting to, like, finally slaying that dragon. And then all of my rivalry thoughts are with Nebraska and Fred Hoiberg and Price Sanford and that entire team. It's like, oh yeah, Iowa State's playing too. And oh, by the way, they're probably going to win. Like, it's just been such a really interesting thing to have this set up with Iowa, Nebraska, the rubber match after two really tough games. It's fantastic, man. I'm on cloud nine. I'm loving this.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. It's been, I about used a gun reference. What would be the equivalent of a chamber? It was the one insult you could always go to. It was like, well, I mean, I was born in 2001. I haven't seen Iowa in a Sweet 16 in my life.
That's crazy.
The amount of times I used that in college was that. It was that and the College World Series stat. What is it that Iowa State hasn't played a baseball game in 35 years and still has more College World Series appearances than Iowa, I think. And I don't care about college baseball, but I would only use that because because everyone would be like, well, why doesn't Iowa State have baseball? And then that was always a good stat to go to. But regardless, now that stat's gone, and I can imagine the relief.
The relief is the right word for it, yeah.
But now, like, there's a real chance to win. It's not another
thing. If
Florida.
you're going against a 1 seed in the Sweet 16 or something like that, you already beat the best team in your bracket. You already did the big thing. Now you play a team that you know pretty well. Now you play a coach that, for as many people who I know, Murph and Andy among them, say it's impossible to hate Fred Hoiberg. It's impossible to root against this guy. I get it. I get why everybody loves him. He seems like a really good dude. It is not hard to root against him as an Iowa fan. I've been rooting against that dude since I was 5 years old.
Yeah,
absolutely. I've disliked Fred Hoiberg as a player, as a coach, not as a person. I got nothing wrong with him as a guy. Again, he seems like a really nice guy. The handful of times I've talked to him, really cool dude. I've disliked that guy as on a basketball floor for as long as I can remember. And now he's the one standing in the way of Iowa and potentially an Elite Eight. And then, hell, I mean, you got maybe, like, I think Houston will win, and beating Houston in Houston feels like an impossible task, although Iowa just came through what felt like an impossible task. But what if Illinois finds a way to get Houston? That's an Illinois team that beat Iowa and is better than Iowa, but Iowa belongs on the floor with that team. And Jesus, all of a sudden we're talking about a Final Four. I'm not going there. I'm not getting ahead of myself to that extent yet, but it's just, again, it's wild once you get to this level where you can kind of start, I mean, if one or two things break your way, watch out.
Yeah, like, if you don't wish injuries, but like, oh my gosh, what if Kingston Flemings turns an ankle? Like,
absolutely.
Then
I'm sure every team Iowa State has faced is, oh, thank God Jefferson got hurt.
Yeah, and that's the hard part for Iowa is is now it's all gravy. And
It
like
is.
Chris Hassel was talking about on Two Guys, then it doesn't feel like gravy anymore because you play Nebraska.
See, I disagree with that, and it will suck tomorrow night if Nebraska beats Iowa. It will suck, and it will suck for a long time when they are able to throw that in your face. But a week from now, Iowa still made a Sweet 16. Like that monkey is still off your back. You still have Ben McCollum. You've still got the bright future. This is all gravy, and the amount of gravy you pour on with a win over Nebraska. Oh my God.
It would be, I mean, for all of the football games that have taken place, and like Nebraska, they have a few of those as well. Like they can say, you guys were one win away from going to 3 straight Big Ten championships, and you couldn't beat whoever the heck Nebraska's quarterback was that day at Kinnick Stadium. And like it's mostly been Iowa in this series, but there have been a couple back and forths that Nebraska can claim. I think it's a tough matchup for both sides.
Yeah.
I'm mad Hassel made the point because I made this point to someone else of I would feel better about Iowa if they were playing a team for the first time and could catch them off guard again.
For sure.
Whereas, again, back to the similarities of the Otzelberger first year and McCollum's first year, Otzelberger, those first 2 years, it was really hard for his team to play a team a second time because you can't simulate that ball pressure. You can't simulate how hard they're going to play. But if you play against it once, then you know what's coming the second time.
You know
and
what
the
to
third
expect.
time.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the game unwinnable for Iowa. I just think it makes it a lot harder to ugly the game up compared to if you were playing Vanderbilt, who might get a big head and say, well, we beat Florida by 20. So what? They beat Florida by 5.
You're not surprising anybody. Nobody's overlooking you at this point.
And that's the part of this matchup that I think, like, that's one of Iowa's best weapons. And and to overcome that, you need your best weapon to show up, and that's Bennett Sturtz. That's the key to the game for me. He's got to get going. He doesn't need to score 25, but he's got to be in control of the game. And he's got to hit some shots. He's got to have a better shot selection.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
I
that.
tweeted at one point in that second half, like, Bennett, stop shooting threes.
Yeah.
Stop shooting threes. And now, having said that, when he got that ball on the inbounds pass late, if he had pulled up for a 3, okay.
You would have thought it was going in.
Yeah, you're the best player. But you're exactly right. He needs to be better.
Yeah. They couldn't have won that Florida game with Sturtz playing good. Like, he still had no turnovers.
Right.
That doesn't
and he
just
still
happen.
draws so much of the defensive attention. Like, even when he's not scoring, he's also just such a level head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get in those big moments, Florida goes on a run and takes the lead, and you get into the huddle and you look at Bennett Sturtz, and he's breathing normal, right? And he's not panicked, and that calms everybody else down. He's the guy who, I mean, again, to have that level head is invaluable. He's not any sort of a player like Connor McCaffrey, but in that way of, like, he's the kind of guy that everybody looks to, and how he goes, the rest of the team goes. And if he starts panicking, everybody's going to panic. And this guy never panics.
Yeah.
But he does need to shoot the ball better. Man, if he goes 5 of 9 from 3, they blow out Florida.
Yeah. Iowa couldn't have beaten Florida with Sturtz going 0 of 9 unless they caught Florida by surprise.
Yeah.
And they will not catch
Banks
Nebraska.
Isn't catching Nebraska by surprise.
They will not catch Nebraska by surprise, and that's why you need a Sturtz performance. Well, that was a long discussion on Iowa, Nebraska. Iowa State, Tennessee.
Yeah, foregone conclusion.
I think it's a much.
We don't even have to talk about it.
I think it's a much more simple game to break down because to me, it comes down to shot making. I think Iowa State will turn Tennessee over. I think Tennessee will do a relatively good job at controlling the offensive glass. I think there's a chance those two offset each other. To me, this comes down to who can get buckets in the crunch time. Is it Iowa State? Is it Tennessee? I'm going to be honest. I like how Taman Lipsey's playing.
Yes.
And I trust Milan Momcilovic with my life. And that that is why I trust Iowa State. On top of all of this stuff, I already know they're going to play with their hair on fire. I already know they're going to play balls to the wall. And they're going to play the way they have since the start of the Big 12 tournament, regardless of if Jefferson can go. I think they win this game. As long as they do that, which I 100% expect them to, and shoot okay. Like, just don't shoot bad, and I think you win this game.
Yeah, you can't have Milan go cold. Lipsy has to kind of do what he's been doing. Torre's got to find the offense that he's been able to find these last handful of games. He's really come back. He kind of hit that freshman wall like we all expected him to late in the regular season, but they've just been playing so well. And you're exactly right. I mean, you trust this team. You trust this coach. It's a challenge, no doubt, in Tennessee. But like Iowa State, even without Jefferson, and I really think if he's able to go, you definitely limit him as much as you possibly can. Now, if you're down 5 with 5 minutes to go, I mean, it's, it's in the water boy. It's the last game of the year. You can't leave anything in the tank or whatever they say. You go all out, but I think there's a good chance that even if Jefferson plays, he doesn't play a lot, and TJ just kind of like feels that out. Hey, do we need him? Do we not need him? If we don't need him, we'll just kind of let him sit and hopefully get ready for Sunday, because you do need him against Michigan. I think that's where this all kind of comes to a head. I think Iowa State's better than Tennessee, and I think if Iowa State plays well, not even great. If they play well, they'll win Friday night. You're gonna have to play great to beat Michigan.
Yeah, and I do think they can beat Michigan without Jefferson, but they have to play great to do so.
Yeah, Milan's gonna have to go nuts, right? Like you're gonna have to have a couple of guys have career nights, which is absolutely possible. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out Friday night. But I fully expect Iowa State to win this.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as strong as fully, but I feel pretty similar to it heading in as I did Kentucky. The difference, while I think probably a similar talent level on both sides, Tennessee's got the better point guard. I think they've got a more established identity as well. But at the same time, I don't know if there's anyone besides the top remaining 1 seeds that have a better established identity than Iowa State. And that's what it comes down to is who establishes their identity in this game. And I trust the way that everyone who's on the court has been playing. I trust them to do that. And I trust Blake Buchanan, a guy who, when they play a West Virginia or an Oklahoma State, like, you kidding me, dude?
Yeah.
But then it's Houston, great offensive rebounding team. Arizona, great offensive rebounding team. Kansas, great offensive rebounding team. That Buchanan shows up and he goes toe-to-toe with them. And I expect that out of him on Friday night. And I honestly wouldn't be shocked if I'm giving him the dark horse MVP of the game Friday night or Saturday morning, regardless of when I do it.
Yeah, you'll be up pretty late on Sunday or Friday night. So KenPom's got this as a 4-point win for Iowa State. That's about what they have for Nebraska over Iowa. So these are going to be, I mean, it's not going to be easy. Don't get me wrong. When I say I fully expect Iowa State to win, I don't mean they can play terribly and win. But the way this team has been playing these last several games, these last couple of weeks, it feels like that team that went into Mackey and crushed Purdue. It feels like that team that we all thought, hey, this is different. This is a different level. And now they're doing it at the right time. And so, man, how fun is this?
It's the best. And
it is.
Just a comforting feeling that I'll leave this game with. Joshua Jefferson played really bad at Mackey Arena. I think he had 5 or 6 turnovers, didn't hit a lot of shots, got in foul trouble, and they beat Purdue by 30. This team, absolutely, no doubt, 100% is better with Joshua Jefferson on the floor.
Yeah,
but they're also a pretty great team, even if he's limited in foul trouble off the court. Again, it'd take a miracle, though, to beat Michigan without him, or if he's at 60%. So that's unfortunately what a lot of this comes down to is.
Do you have
to see
any
if you can
gauge? I mean, I will say, like, from afar, not having seen X-rays or MRIs or anything, and really not having seen Jefferson in several days now, it's hard for me to believe that clearly he's not going to be 100%, but that he's even going to be like close to 100%. I mean, it just, that seemed bad. And it feels like even if he comes back, even if it's not until Sunday, the odds of him being like an impact player are pretty low.
Yeah, I don't really have a gauge on it because, like, I know a big reason it looked bad was because it looked bad. I know that sounds dumb, but
you're right.
It looked really gruesome. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it is an ankle sprain.
Yeah. And
some players can play on an ankle sprain in a week. Some it might take them a month. And that's where a lot of this comes down to is what's the pain tolerance?
Mm-hmm.
How severe was the ankle sprain? Not that it is a severe ankle sprain, because that would force him to have surgery and be out for a couple months. That's what it comes down. So I don't really have a gauge. I think he'll be in between 65 and 80% Friday.
Have you seen him in Chicago?
Did not see him today.
Okay.
And let me add to this. So Andrew on Twitter asked if I saw him on a scooter. If you see him on a scooter, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Because if you're trying to get him to be as fresh as possible for Friday, you don't want him walking around in a boot just proving, I can walk on a boot. You are trying to have him rest that as much as humanly possible. Ice, rest.
It also doesn't help if Tennessee sees him on a scooter, right? I mean, like, there's a mental game to this too, I'm sure. Yeah, there's no need for him to be walking around right now.
Yeah. He's going to have to run around if he plays.
Yeah. And you save it till then.
I would not at all put it past Iowa State. They've got their open practice tomorrow. First 15 minutes of practice will be open to the media. They will practice in the morning before that. I would not put it past them for Jefferson to be shooting the ball a little bit, doing some individual workouts with Vic Miller and Kyle Green, and then they put him on a scooter for the open practice just to screw with people. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I would not be shocked in the slightest if there were a little mind games being played.
Hey, before we move on, I do want to let people know there's a couple of watch parties going on at Valor Ballroom in West Des Moines.
What a spot.
All right. It's if you haven't been there since they've renovated, it's fantastic. I've gone to a couple of shows there. Plus, they got a nice restaurant and a bar in the downstairs area. But tomorrow night and then Friday night, free admission, free parking, a 23-foot screen, and they're gonna have food available. I'm sure they're gonna have drinks available. They're gonna have obviously the sound on. But like, you want to go somewhere? There's a bunch of Hawkeye fans tomorrow night, a bunch of Cyclone fans on Friday night. A giant screen, a cool area. Doors open at 5:30. The Valor Ballroom. This is a really cool thing they're trying to do. You know, we've done a couple of times back when in my radio days where we would go to the Palms Theater, and they would put the games on in one of those movie theaters, and like watching these games on these giant screens in a group of people like that. It's different than like a sports bar. It's so much fun. And so, yeah, hey, check out the Valor Ballroom, both tomorrow night and Friday night. And hey, if that goes well, I'm sure if that goes well and our teams win, I'm sure they're going to find a way to do some fun stuff, beyond that as well. And so, we'll do that. But yeah, now, Jake, let's get to like the maybe less fun part of this conversation. We're not
women's basketball.
Not going to spend a ton of time on this. We're already going pretty long here, but what's weighing me down, brought to us by Sule and Scales. Yeah, what's weighing us down is just the way these seasons ended for both of our programs, and we'll talk about them individually. Sule and Scales, Sioux City, Des Moines, Fort Dodge, Spencer. Check them out. We appreciate them. We met them at the Iowa Everywhere listener party, and that was a ton of fun.
Nick's great. Nick's
awesome. So thank you to them. But for me, it's the Iowa women just never really getting over that UCLA loss, right? I mean, you could say all the right things, and I talked myself into, yeah, you lost by 50, but you throw the tape away and you move on, and you still had a great season, and now you're at home. But man, like this program at home in the NCAA tournament, it's like it hasn't been great. Caitlin Clark's sophomore year, they lost to Creighton in the second round at home. They've struggled in games at home, even when they made championship game runs. For whatever reason, the amount of pressure on this team when they're at home in the NCAA tournament is tough. They didn't look good against Fairleigh Dickinson in a win, and looked good to start or for a little bit there against Virginia, but just were never able to kind of create. I mean, the start of the second half, Iowa kind of created some separation. It was like, okay, here we go. And then Virginia starts hitting threes. Iowa moves to a zone defense, which was weird. And it's just it's a bad way for the careers of Hannah Stuelke and Kylie Feuerbach and Taylor McCabe to end. This is a team that was ahead of schedule, is a young team, has a promising future, I think has the right head coach and good recruiting, and the program is in a good spot. But I've been saying ever since Caitlin Clark left, Iowa to be one of these like blue blood level programs is going to have to make like a Final Four run without Caitlin Clark to prove that they can do it. And you thought, I don't know that Final Four was in the cards this year, but you thought certainly a Sweet 16 and maybe beyond was there. And to get beat by a Virginia team that played in a play-in game a couple of days earlier, I mean,
that was just bad.
It is. It's bad. There's no way to sugarcoat it. That was a bad loss. It's a bad look for the program. And now they're going to have to get up off the mat next year and kind of prove that this year wasn't a fluke, that this year was the start of something great in the Jan Jensen era. But, man, that sucked on Monday, especially like all the euphoria on Sunday night for the Iowa men. It was like, all right, we're going to have two teams in the Sweet 16, baby. Here we go. And then I'm sitting on my couch after Murph and Andy edited on Monday, and it's like, oh, my God, we're going to lose this goddamn game. And sure enough, that's what happened. So, yeah, that just sucked. I
had a take a couple weeks ago that it was just like, wow, Iowa won't at all be shocked at like having a sold-out crowd. But then after the game, I reflected on it, and I thought, okay, well, maybe this was just the young players not being ready for the moment. And maybe that UCLA loss really did, Siouxland scale, weigh them down. And that's...
I think it did.
You can get beat by 25,
yeah,
and you can come back, but getting beat by 50 is hard.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is.
You can say all the right things. It's embarrassing to have happen. You know how I feel about the top of women's basketball. I don't necessarily think it's an embarrassment that Iowa lost that game, but
no,
there's no way those players didn't feel embarrassed.
Exactly. They clearly never recovered from it.
Yeah, and that's a tough spot to be. And you make the point of it. They need to make a run next year.
Yeah,
that has to happen.
Now the pressure's on, right?
Because otherwise, not that this is bound to happen, but then Iowa could just be the next Oregon, who had Sabrina Ionescu, who's an amazing player. I believe led them to a Final Four, if not definitely an Elite Eight. But then what are they now? And granted, I think Iowa has much better fan support. I think they've got a coach that is recruiting at an extremely high level, that they won't fall off a cliff. But it is going to be harder to get the Addy Deals of the world.
Yes.
Those 5-star players, if you don't make even a Sweet 16 post Caitlin Clark. So that's got to be the goal for Iowa next year. And it's a much different conversation than Iowa State because almost everyone's left. 7 players in the portal already. Addie Brown, Jada Williams, both all Big 12 players. Reese Beatty, the backup point guard. All the other players I don't think was too shocking. Those are players that will probably transfer down a level.
Yeah,
to go
this
get more
day and
playing
age,
time.
you expect that level of exodus, but you're exactly right. Those first two you named, Addie and Jada, that's tough.
Yeah, and it all started with Beatty because usually if a true freshman point guard plays in this program, it's a really good sign. They almost always end up being a player. So it was surprising when Reese Beatty left. It was shocking when Addie Brown, Jada Williams left, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's more. I'm not reporting that. I'm not.
No.
I don't have official word on that, but this doesn't seem like a good situation, and I don't even know where Iowa State goes from here, because this doesn't look like a 1-year fix, and
No.
Bill Fenley doesn't seem to be a coach that's going to be here in 5 years. And
That's the thing, right?
It feels like a
And-
sitting duck type situation, which you obviously don't want your program to be in.
Now you're in this situation where you're not bad enough that a change has to be made. Like, is it's not obvious what needs to happen, right? It's not Steve Prohm where it's like, well, he could be a great guy. You got to move on. Like, it's not what happened with Fran McCaffrey last year, where the fans stopped showing up. And it was like, well, even if you think the future can turn around, like Iowa State's in a position where they're good enough and they get enough talent that the potential is there, and everybody likes Bill Fenley. I mean, I think I heard Chris Williams say, or somebody, maybe it was Murphy, they had never been to an NCAA tournament pre-Bill Fenley. That's wild.
It was maybe the
Like,
worst program in college basketball.
So that means all of Iowa State's very good women's basketball history is under Bill Fenley. So on one hand, like he's got to go out on his own terms, and like he's deserved that, he's earned that, and it's, again, the bottom hasn't dropped out, but it's now 2 years in a row where you start in the top 10 and you end in the round of 64, and it's unacceptable. And now with transfers out, I saw somebody in the comments say, like, somebody's got to hold the line, right? Like, is AJ going to be Emily Ryan and hold that line like she did?
I think she will be. I think Ariana Jackson will be a Cyclone.
And that's a
next year.
good piece to start building another roster around. But, man, you can't survive another season like the last two.
It's been a long time since Iowa State beat a higher seed in the NCAA tournament. Like that, we talk about Iowa State men playing Tennessee. Tennessee hasn't beaten someone better than them under Rick Barnes until last weekend. Like, and that to me is what Iowa State women's basketball feels like, because you have to go back a really long time, like almost 20 years since they beat a team that was a higher seed than them, and that to me shows a program that needs new blood, and that doesn't have to be Bill Fenley, but potentially a change in some assistants.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a good spot to be. And as I'm looking back, I'm pretty sure you have to go back to 1999 since Iowa State beat UConn. It was the last time that they beat a seed that was ranked higher than them in the NCAA tournament, and that it's a long time. It's similar to Iowa's Sweet 16 streak. Talk about weighing us down. That lived up to the segment name.
It did. It really did. Let's get back up, right, with the
buzzard beater.
The buzzard beater, baby. We still have games to talk about. We still have seasons on the line.
This will go quicker than normal because there's not 8 teams we got to break down. There's 2 teams.
Do want to let people know, Buzzard Billy's is doing specials during the Iowa and Iowa State games over the next couple of nights. So during these games, these specials will also continue for the rest of the tournament during each game Iowa and Iowa State are involved in. So as long as they're alive, these specials are alive. Buy one, get one free appetizers at Buzzard Billy's during these games. Armadillo eggs. Have you had an armadillo egg? These things are fantastic.
Oh, yeah, those are good.
Gator fingers, nachos, cheese curds, spin art. You can tell I'm a dad of young kids. Spinach and artichoke dip, and more.
Wait, I call it spin art.
Spin art.
Spin
Buy
art
one,
dip.
get one free on appetizers. $4 tall boys. Get your beer, and then obviously it's a great sports bar. They got TVs. They're gonna have the sound on. Buzzard Billy's gonna be the place to be in the downtown area for these next couple of nights, and again, hopefully Saturday for the Hawkeyes, hopefully Sunday for the Cyclones. So check out Buzzard Billy's.
So Iowa, Nebraska. I think I'll let you go first. I think I know your answer.
Give me the Hawks, baby. Are you kidding? Absolutely. There's no chance in hell. Even if I thought Nebraska was going to win this game, there's no chance I would not pick Iowa to win this game. And I'm not being like crazy optimistic, right? I mean, this is a team that Iowa has beat this year. It's a team that Iowa took to overtime in their own building. Yeah, it took a last second shot to do that, but they did it. It's not going to be an easy game. There's a lot on the line. I'm going to have a stomach ache with 2 minutes to go, I think. But I do think what Iowa has done over these last couple of games helps them a lot. I think the confidence that Ben McCollum talked about after the Big Ten tournament, he said, hey, I believe our team can beat anybody. I just need these guys to believe that too. And I don't think they did until Sunday night. And now I think they do. So yeah, give me the Hawks. Absolutely.
It's a true toss-up, and it very well could come down to who makes more shots, Sturts, Sanford. It could come down to the last possession. And I think both these teams are really well coached. The crowd is a major factor.
Mm-hmm.
That Oklahoma City crowd for Nebraska was maybe the most impressive. It was like watching Iowa State playing West Virginia or someone like that in the Big 12 championship in Kansas City.
Yeah, right.
I expect a similar type of crowd for Nebraska, but Iowa just won in Tampa with 95% Florida.
McCollum like embraces that.
Yeah.
I heard him asked about that. He's like, I'd much rather have that than a quiet, arena. Like, obviously being at home would be best. Having a home crowd would be best. But second place is a hostile crowd because they can take that and do something with it.
I think I'll go Iowa. I'll lean Iowa just with Sturts, McCollum. I don't feel great about it either way. I would not touch this game with a 50-foot pole.
No.
I think
it's down to like 1.5. Nebraska's favored.
Honestly, if Nebraska was favored by 5.5, I think I would pick Nebraska. But the line being so far off from KenPom and the data, that usually to me is going bet the side that feels like it's not a trap. So I would take Iowa. And then I think they'd lose to either Houston or Illinois.
Yeah,
I think they'd lose to Houston handily. I think they'd give Illinois a test, but I don't think they'd win either of those games.
No,
I would feel very not confident in them hanging with Houston, especially if it was in Houston.
Same. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I think it ends in the Elite Eight for the Hawkeyes. And just to even say that sentence, little eggplant emoji.
That's a win.
Yeah.
I think Iowa State beats Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do it by 7 to 10 points. I think there's a lot of factors in this game I like. They're led by a smaller guard, which can be a good thing for Taman Lipsy and Killian Torrey, bigger body guys to be able to give him trouble. And I just trust the Taman plays, the Heisey plays, those extra effort plays that they've been making for the last month now. I trust that those will be enough. And you mentioned the crowd, an Iowa State heavy crowd on Friday night.
Yeah, I agree. I think Iowa State wins this. Not going away, not easily, but I think 5 minutes left. It's a pretty celebratory feeling in Cyclone Nation.
And then Sunday, I
don't feel good about Sunday.
I
don't feel good about Jefferson. If I thought he was going to be anywhere close to 100%, I would say it's probably more of a toss-up. I may still favor Michigan, assuming it's Michigan. But I don't feel good about that game for Iowa State.
Yeah, it sucks because I've been saying, and I was called crazy by several people. I'd been saying since like early February, like, give me Michigan. They turn the ball over a lot. I think they've got a lot of tough guys that are they tough, like guys that act tough, guys that certainly will play tough certain games, but are they actually tough? And those are the types of teams that I like to see Iowa State go against, because if they prove to be tough, then you tip your cap. If they're not, then sometimes you can walk away with it. But if Jefferson's not 100%, I don't feel as great about it. I would pick Michigan. I'm still not going to count out Taman Lipsy and Milan Momcilovic and Jefferson if he gives it a go. Like I think he'll go down swinging. If he's got even a sliver of a chance to play on Sunday, I think he'll do it, and he'll do it to the best of his ability. But it feels like it'll go down as another what-if season for Iowa State, which would suck.
That would.
I'm going to enjoy it every second of it up until that point, though.
A week from now, we could be talking about 2 Final Four teams.
That'd be crazy. I think we'll have a show either way next week.
Yes, we'll definitely. However long these seasons go, we have to have like a wrap-up show.
A post.
Yeah, exactly. So if the seasons end this weekend, maybe next week's the wrap-up show. We're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants here on Buckets, baby. It's what we do.
That was a fun show.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone who joined. Sorry we couldn't be on YouTube Live. But if you joined us on X, on Facebook, we appreciate you. Thanks, Steve Kemp, for hanging out in the comments. Andrew Sandberg, Zane Kolosik, Angie Hashman, just people who are active throughout the show.
Yeah, we love it. We appreciate it.
Steve Kemp says, "Fail to the victor, valiant. to the victor be the spoil."
There you go.
I don't know what the quote means, but it's Bobby Bacala from The Sopranos. I like to say it. This has been Buckets here in the Channel Seed Studios. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back live next Wednesday.